Welcome back to the Commanders Declassified podcast. I am your host tonight, Brian. Eric, man, how are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm tan, rested, and ready. Had a week off, ready to roll this week. Where did Ellie say I was? Mesopotamian deserts or some nonsense?
Yes, he said you were out in the motherland, doing some exploration, I think.
The motherland. For me, that's like Ireland.
Absolutely. Ellie is not with us tonight. We wish him the best. He's actually at Bank of America corporate office trying to help secure this sale for the team. So hopefully when he gets back, he'll have some news for us. But it's just me and you tonight, man.
Oh, he told me he was going to be navigating the jungles of the Punjab. But I guess Bank of America has an office there, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I think he's trying to get this sale done for all of us Commanders fans out there. So we can't wait to get him back next week. So enjoy the time off, and we'll see you shortly. Eric, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. A lot of news has happened since we were last on the pod, but you weren't with us last week. So just quickly, before we get into everything, what did you think about Scott Turner getting fired?
It's about daggone time. Now it becomes be careful what you wish for, because we don't know who's coming next. But the offense wasn't going to get any better with him running it, so there was really no place else to go other than another direction. So we'll see what we end up with, but you're definitely not going to get a pity party or anybody crying over Scott Turner getting fired. I'm sure some rando on Twitter probably is, but because there's always one. But I mean, I don't see any problem with letting him go, and wish him the best. I'm sure he'll land a gig somewhere else, and I bet Taylor Heinicke will go wherever he does. But yeah, it was definitely just wasn't working here, and it's time to move on. So good riddance. Hopefully That will be the last Turner that comes through the Ashburn offices.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It was just time for a change. Before we get into tonight's all these great topics that we've got, I think we need to pay some bills, and I think you have a new DraftKings read from our awesome sponsor, DraftKings Sportsbook app.
Yeah, that's the word on the street. The NFL playoff action continues. Oh wait, I can't do this without music.
Oh,
there we go.
Right on time.
But you give me the slow jam tonight.
Oh yeah.
It's like Jodeci. See if I can make this work. NFL playoff action continues. We are one step closer to Super Bowl 57, and for the NFL divisional round, check out DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. Plus, all new and existing customers can take a shot at an even bigger payout with DraftKings stepped up same-game parlays. Boost your NFL winnings with each leg. You add up to 100%. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code CDP11. That is Commanders Declassified Podcast 11. New customers can bet $5 on the NFL divisional round. Get $200 in free bets instantly only at DraftKingsSportsbook.com with code CDP11. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. Of course, see show notes for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537 in Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, West Virginia, or Wyoming. 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. 1-800-522-4700 in Kansas or New Hampshire. 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Visit ogpr.org in Oregon, or 1-888-532-3500 in Virginia. 21 plus 18 plus in New Hampshire and Wyoming. Physically present in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, select parishes, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Only void in Ohio and Ontario. Eligibility restrictions apply. $200 in free bets, valid one per new customer. Minimum $5 deposit, minimum $5 bet, promo code CDP11 required. $200 issued as free bets that expire 7 days or 168 hours if you're on the spectrum. After being awarded, free bets must be wagered one time, and stake is not included in any returns or winnings. Stepped up same game parlay. One stepped up same game parlay token issued per eligible NFL playoff game after opt-in. Minimum $1 bet. Maximum bet limits apply. Minimum 3-leg, each leg minimum minus 300 odds, total bet plus 100 odds or longer. Profit boosted up to 100%, 10 plus legs for 100% boost. Promotional offer period ends 2/12/23 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. See terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms.
Wow. That was
Those are
way better than what I did last week.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Man,
That
it's
was
like that Keith Sweat music behind me was like spinach for Popeye, just powering through.
Absolutely. All right. So we had news here just a couple days ago over the weekend that the Commanders were telling offensive coordinator candidates that they were potentially going to move forward with Sam Howell. Since then, there's been some different reporting, some clarifications on that information. Essentially, what is being reported now is that the Commanders would like Sam Howell to compete for the job. There will be competition. He's going to have to earn the starting job if he can earn the starting job. Nothing guaranteed to him, nothing definitive, but it is definitive that he will get at least an opportunity to try and compete for the job. What did you think about that news when you heard it?
Yeah, I'm sure Twitter was very level-headed when they read that, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Nobody overreacted to that news. Yeah, honestly, I thought that, and I still think that it has a lot to do with Sam Howell being currently the only quarterback under contract going into the next season.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, you're having an interview. I don't think it's a case of Ron Rivera or, Daniel Snyder or Martin Mayhew, or whoever, like dumping a quarterback on a coach and saying, make it work. I think they're going through the process saying, look, we got a young guy on our roster. Currently, he's the only guy on our roster. We really like him. We want to know if you're willing to work with him or you think you can work with him. By all means, I don't think they're going to just hand him the reins. He played well against Dallas. I don't think he played well enough in one game to just, be into the starting job going into next year. So it's a perfectly reasonable thing for Rivera and company to do, to just say, look, this is the guy we would like to move forward with. We understand we're going to have to bring in some competition. It's not guaranteed anything to him. Bring in another quarterback or two, let them compete, let Sam win. Now, they're probably going to give Sam first crack at the job, and I don't have a problem with doing that either. But if he is, noticeably worse than the other quarterbacks that they bring in, I don't think he'll get the job. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah, totally agree. You're exactly right. I think people, when they heard that news, ran with it 100 miles an hour in every direction, good, bad, or indifferent. And I think this is the smart play. I think this is the only play Rivera has available to him right now, because just like you said, he's the only quarterback that's essentially on the roster. Wentz will be released. That's been reported by a couple of people here at some point before that March deadline. And, it very much seems like Rivera at least is intrigued by the skill set that he saw from Sam Howell. That doesn't guarantee Sam Howell anything. Sam Howell will have to prove through training camp and whichever veteran QB that they will bring in to compete with him. I'm assuming it is going to be somebody of similar Heineke level type, skill, somebody who's okay with, competing for the job, and somebody who's okay if they lose the job and then just being a backup. So maybe a Mariota, maybe a Dalton, maybe a Brissett. But hey, if they could get Heineke back, which, it's possible, but maybe not likely, him too. But yeah, I think they just want to see what's there, right? Hey, is what I saw against the Dallas Cowboys, was that just smoke and mirrors? Was that just a flash? Or is that something that could be consistently seen for 17 games in a season? Because if it is, hey, we may have something. If it's not, well, at least we got maybe a future backup at the very least. And I think that's the right play. Spending money, lots of money on a high-priced free agent quarterback, trading draft picks. those are all, high risk probabilities or chances, and those don't seem to work out for us too well. So I think this is reasonable. Now, who knows what happens here over the next couple of months if a team decides to cut a guy and maybe somebody comes available that we didn't know about? Maybe that changes the equation. So if, let's say, Sam Howell isn't the guy and he tries, he competes, and he's not there or he's not ready, what else do we do? Are there anybody else? What are the options outside of Sam Howell, not including the draft?
Well, I think the news about Sam Howell, the one thing that it reinforces to me is that they're not going to go after somebody who still
Yes.
thinks they're a starter.
Yep.
Like you said, they're going to be somebody that's going to be okay with losing the job. So I think like a guy like Tannehill or trading for Derek Carr, which, or, pursuing Lamar Jackson and Brett backing up the Brinks truck. Like, I don't see that happening. I think that it's going to be a very low risk signing, a short-term signing. So I do think somebody like Jacoby Brissett, who played pretty well in Cleveland this year, not great, obviously. Somebody like a Dalton, who is still getting it, he's not going to win you a championship, but he's going to be a stable backup if you need it. One guy I actually don't want here is Heinicke. As much as I like Heinicke, it's just a distraction at this point. You know what you're going to end up with Heinicke, and it's just not going to be pretty. And the first time, Sam Howell throws an interception, there's going to be that contingent just clamoring for Taylor Heinicke. Nobody's going to be like demanding Jacoby Brissett play or Andy Dalton play, but Heinicke has such a following here in this town that there's just never going to be a situation where there's going to be a contingent of people that don't want him in. And it's just a distraction. And when you have a young quarterback that you're trying to develop, that's not a good situation for him to be in. So I personally like Heinicke. I appreciate everything he's done here. I just want him to move on. Like I said, I think he's going to follow Scott Turner somewhere. Scott Turner will likely land as a quarterback coach someplace, and Heinicke will be right there with him. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. I'm excited. I'm 100% not looking forward to the prospect of starting a season with another vet that we're depending on to come in and produce, even though they haven't in years. I don't want to see another Carson Wentz. I don't want to see another Fitzpatrick. I don't want to see another. I liked Alex Smith, but dudes like we know what we're going to get. It's the same story owner. It's not going to work. If we're going to win 7 games next year, I'd rather do it with a young quarterback who's still learning than somebody who's still trying to prove that they can play and cost a lot of money. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on the Heinicke thing. I think, I don't know if Sam Howell, right? If we think he's somebody who can be developed, I don't know if he'll be able to develop with Heinicke right behind him. And just as you said, right, every misstep, people will be chanting for Heinicke. And, that's going to be tough for, Howell to kind of go ahead and develop from there if that's the route they choose to go. So, yeah, no, I'm fine with him not coming back as well and getting, a Brissett or somebody like that to compete with him. But you're right. Paying for, some of the names that are out there are Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. There's Joe Flacco. He's out there still somehow kind of kicking around. Teddy Bridgewater, somebody who I wanted, in years past, who I don't know if there's even anything left there at the rate he's getting injured. This season. There's, of course, another expensive option, Jimmy Garoppolo. He's certainly a starter. He's not coming here for a quarterback competition, and he would be a guy you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay him a lot of money to come here, and I don't know if that's even possible. But yeah, those other options out there, I think, bringing somebody who can compete with Heinicke, I think is probably the way to go, because the free agent market at QB is very, very thin. Again, unless a Tannehill gets cut, released, unless Tom Brady has a change of heart and says, you know what, DC is where it's at. Exactly. That's how I feel too. But those things aren't happening and coming here for various reasons. There have been some more developments in the offensive coordinator situation. So there have been a couple of names that have been thrown around. The first one starting with Jim Caldwell. Ron, I think that was the first guy Ron reached out to was Jim Caldwell. He declined politely. He wants to be a head coach, and he should be a head coach. There's no reason why he shouldn't be, but he's just taking head coaching interviews right now. One of the other names out there that we actually interviewed today was Pat Shurmur, longtime offensive coordinator, former head coach. He was with Daniel Jones in New York that first year there with him. Somebody, again, who has been a kind of QB whisperer over time. And then some other familiar names. Darrell Bevell, he's currently the pass game coordinator for Miami, but longtime offensive coordinator with Seattle. Kind of helped Russell Wilson out early on in his career. Charles London, QB coach, Atlanta. Atlanta had a really good run scheme that is something that Ron said he wants to do. He wants to run the football by a 2-1 margin. Eric Studevant, assistant head coach, running back coach, also down in Miami. Miami had a really nice offense, and their offense kind of fit some of the players that we have here. They ran the ball a lot. They also threw a lot of quick passes. They utilized the quick passing game with speedy receivers who could gain yards after the catch. Any of those names, Eric, it looks like Eric just dropped out there for a second, but with these names here, you can definitely tell that Ron Rivera is trying to find somebody outside of his comfort zone. Eric, I don't know how much you heard me mention all of those names that are under consideration by the Commanders for offensive coordinator, but what do you think about some of these guys here? The Pat Shurmurs, the Darrell Bevells, Charles London, Eric Studevant. Like, what do you think of some of these guys here?
Yeah, they're about the type of guys I'd expect Ron Rivera to interview. I mean, very milquetoast, I think, is the best. Now, of course, the two guys from the Dolphins are interesting because that kind of leads me to believe that if they're pursuing those strongly, that maybe they are definitely leaning toward developing Sam Howell more because of the work they've done with Tua and how much he improved this year. Darrell Bevell, Pat Shurmur, those guys they don't. Yeah. That's kind of who I would expect him to hire, one of those guys. It's nothing for me personally to get excited over. Those guys have been mediocre offensive coordinators for most of their career. Bevell had a couple of good years in Seattle. Shurmur's had a couple of one-offs in Denver and Philly, I think he was for a year or two. Yep. Under Andy Reid. But not those guys, just they for the most part are, Scott Turner level coordinators, in my opinion. Which is kind of what I was afraid of with getting rid of him. Now, maybe they can get a little bit more. I know Shurmur has worked with young quarterbacks before. Yep. Spotty at best, like in Denver. He didn't have a lot to work with there, but he didn't get much out of those guys either. He worked with McNabb when he was young. He worked with Daniel Jones. Maybe there's something there, but that's kind of what I'm expecting. And honestly, I think I've made this clear before, but 2023 for me is just not a year that I'm excited for. Yeah. I just, I don't expect a lot next year, and I'm fully prepared to just be underwhelmed. So the hiring of somebody like Pat Shurmur or Darrell Bevell kind of makes me feel no different. I'm not excited at all for the upcoming year.
Yeah, none of these candidates scream, hey, we're looking to be, we're looking to find the next Sean McVay. We're looking to find the next Kyle Shanahan, right? The real innovative type guy. They all sound, essentially kind of desperate, right? They sound like, hey, we want something a little different, but we don't want anything too different type to me with any of these guys. Yeah, Shurmur, not really interested in him. Darrell Bevell as well. Eric Studevant is interesting. He was offensive coordinator, I think, 2015 with the Broncos when they won the Super Bowl, and I do like the running game that they have there in Miami, and if that's something he could bring here. But these guys, all underwhelming candidates. And here's something else too. There are other jobs out there, right? There's other offensive coordinator positions open. The Chargers just let go their offensive coordinator today. The Bucs, we're hearing about the Bucs potentially letting Leftwich go. The Titans are looking for an offensive coordinator. Cardinals, Jets, Colts, they're all looking for offensive coordinators, and potentially you can make the case that those jobs are better, right? Those positions are a little bit better because there's some uncertainty here with how long you actually have here, right? You have 1 year, maybe not necessarily a clear defined starter as well too. Like, do you think this job is attractive in comparison to some of those? Because Yeah.
Oh.
Now the one thing I will say is Ron's not an offensive head coach, so whoever comes here, they're calling plays. Some of those other places, you may not call plays, but yeah. What do you think about this position compared to some of those other open spots?
I mean, it's just like looking for a starting quarterback. If a coach has other options, he's probably going to pick somewhere else. With the flux in ownership upcoming, you've got Ron Rivera, who is not on steady ground. It's basically a 1-year audition. The stadium is not very good. The crowds are not very good. I don't know how much that matters to a coach, but the personnel and offense is solid as far as skill positions go. But like you said, no defined starter. And depending on what they think of Sam Howell, they may not like that opportunity. The offensive line is in shambles; going to have to be completely rebuilt. So there's not a. I personally might be a little jaded from watching this team for the past 30 years, but this is, to me, not the most attractive job and one of the least attractive jobs in the league, just based on the situation. Things could change, with ownership and all that stuff, but during the hiring cycle, I just don't see how somebody with other options is going to pick here. The one that intrigues me a little bit maybe is Byron Leftwich, just because he's local and this was his team growing up. I think he used to sneak into the stadium and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. That might be an attractive thing to him. I'm not 100% sure Ron would be comfortable hiring Byron Leftwich.
Yeah.
Because he might make a good interim head coach.
Very true.
So that would be an interesting, and this is the first year Leftwich hasn't worked under Arians as an offensive coordinator, and the offense in Tampa was not great with Tom Brady and all the personnel that they had, even though they dealt with some injuries. But still, to me, that's an intriguing pick. Local kid, was a rising star over the past couple of years. And Todd Bowles has been a very unsuccessful head coach everywhere he's gone with bad offenses. So it very well may not be Byron Leftwich's fault that the offense wasn't good. He could be dictating it, much like Ron said, just run the ball. Maybe I don't know what's going on down in Tampa, but Byron Leftwich might get me a little bit excited for this year. Or Jim Caldwell, but I don't think he wants to be here. I don't blame him either.
Yeah, no, Jim Caldwell, I think, has his sights set on.
Said no. Yeah, even if he doesn't get a head coaching job, he'll get an OC job in a better place than here.
Exactly, with a longer certain future. But no, you're right about Leftwich. I think he would make a great fit. But they had a lot of offensive line issues down in Tampa. Basically, like what we had, their starting center was out the whole year. The backup center was out. They had a guard retire before the season, and the other guard got hurt. So, I mean, he'd be stepping into essentially the same thing here with your 3 interior linemen just all being either injured or just, below average. So maybe, yeah, you're right that probably wouldn't be a good, necessarily a good place to come. Is there anybody in particular that maybe you had your sights set on? Like if it was, hey, if all the opportunities were equal, that would make a good opportunity for them, like another Sean McVay somewhere on somebody else's staff that you think would be good for us?
Well, I would love for Sean Payton to just be our offensive coordinator, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah,
well, he's probably a little out of our league as far as that goes.
We'd have to give up a first round pick just to get him in house.
Yeah, that's true.
And that that's a heavy price, let alone his price tag and what he's going to want. Here's my other question though: with this offensive coordinator search, so Rivera just fired Scott Turner. I got to imagine any of these guys, Darrell Bevell, been an offensive coordinator for a while, Shermer, like they're going to want to bring in their own people. They want to go, they want their own quarterback coach. They want their own offensive line coach. Do you really think Rivera would say, okay, I'm going to fire Matsko? Matsko and him have been together probably 20 plus years. Like, do you think that's, is that reasonable? Like, would he let go the rest of the staff?
Yeah, so that's why I kind of still think that even though we haven't heard anything, somebody like Mike Shula or Chudzinski would be on his radar just for that reason, because these are all guys that they've worked with as well, that are going to have that comfort level. And Ron has very clearly shown that he is not excited about leaving his comfort zone as far as coaching goes and hires go. So even though we haven't heard from those guys yet, I think we may go through an interview process and then end up with Mike Shula as our offensive coordinator, which is whatever. Like I said, I'm not planning on this being a fireworks level year anyway, but it would not surprise me for him to go one of his former coordinators as a retread. And the offensive systems are similar too, which is another reason why one of those guys may be in. I don't know. Pat Shurmur is like a West Coast guy, So that's a huge change. That's like a whole new set of terminology and everything for Sam Howell to come in and try to learn right off the bat. So I don't like that fit personally. Bevel, I don't even know what Bevel runs.
I think it's something similar to what Shermer would run.
Yeah, so I don't know if any of those guys, like, I don't know that that's the best fit personally. Yeah. If you're trying to develop Sam Howell, the Miami guys, now that that's a Coryell style offense. He's from the McDaniel comes out of the McVay tree. Those guys probably would coach similar, so I can see one of those guys, and I'm actually kind of intrigued by those two. I don't know a ton about them, but I do like the idea that those guys have had offensive success this decade. And they have proven work with a young quarterback that has shown results in a short period of time.
No, absolutely, I agree with that. And just something, I'm sure no one wants to hear this, but the team did say that they would interview Ken Zampese for offensive coordinator. So just everyone keep that in the back of your mind, because if we strike out with all of these candidates, that
could be a subtle candidate.
Yeah, that may be the guy that we land on, because think about, one thing I thought about that is going to be difficult. I think you just touched on it a little bit there is, not only would we be asking a young quarterback to be learning another new system, but Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, whoever plays offensive line, everybody's going to have to learn a new offense if it's not necessarily somebody from, who's related to kind of that Scott Turner system or Eric Coryell system. So it's going to be that would be an adjustment. And in a year where Ron needs to produce, I don't know if he wants everybody to be having such a big change on offense, learning new verbs, verbiage, all that kind of thing, terminology. That's a tough sell. It's tough to see him wanting to make that kind of big change there. So it'll be interesting to see who it ends up being. And I'm sure we'll get some more information on that here over the next couple of days, weeks. Another thing that happened here over the weekend here these last couple of days, because we've gotten a little bit more information about it, is the ownership change, the team sale. There looks like things are progressing forward. We finally got some information about the bids that were submitted back right before Christmas, about the end of December. And it looks like, the first round of bids came in about $6.3 billion, maybe a little bit shy of the $7 billion that Snyder may have been looking for. But, $6.3 billion, still a hefty price. That's more than the Forbes valuation last year, which was like $5.5 billion, I believe. One noticeable thing about the bids, it was missing a bid from Amazon Jeff Bezos. He did not submit any bids. There's no confirmation of whether he's not interested or he is interested, or if he's going to, come into the process later on, which is a possibility, or if he's out altogether. But what do you think about, we finally got some information that bids were submitted, and we're right at $6.3 billion. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's not my money, so I don't care. They can bid as much as they want or as little as they want. We also got confirmation a few hours ago, Front Office Sports, and kind of confirmed that it will be a full sale. So that was kind of things that the Commanders fans were, Snyder will be selling the majority stake, not just like a piece, like some people were kind of afraid of. So it looks like it is moving forward. The Bezos thing is interesting. It's hard to put my finger on it. If you look at what happened with the Broncos earlier this year, the Walton family basically swooped in at the last minute and drove everybody out with a high bid. That could very well be what Bezos is trying to do. But there is that very real hatred for Jeff Bezos that Dan Snyder seems to have because of his Washington Post ties. And if we know anything about Dan Snyder, is that he is just a petty dude and will purposely not, if he does sell to Bezos, he'll just pour milk all over the stadium.
Yes.
That's the greatest story ever. I know people think that's just a petty thing, and it is, but the pouring milk on the learner's luxury is the best thing. I love it. It's so great. So I hope he does if Bezos buys. Yeah, for now it looks like Josh Harris is the leader.
Yeah, Todd Bailey, who's another guy, a late comer that people started to talk about, looks like he may have dropped out. He doesn't appear to be the front runner, but like you said, Josh Harris, Philadelphia 76 co-owners, I think New Jersey Devils,
Yep.
other co-owner as well in that. He appears to be the front runner, and I know JP Finley put an article out that from sources that he's talked to, that the sale is almost done, that it's getting to its completion. The league has its owners meeting at the either mid-March or end of March, and that would be the time where the owners would vote on the sale, right? They would make it final that Josh Harris or Todd Bailey or Jeff Bezos or Byron Allen, whoever it may be, would be the owner. So
Yep.
if that holds true, right, if we're getting close to a completion point here, I mean, that's going to be amazing news for Commanders fans that we thought this day would never come. Do you think that this thing, what do you think about how kind of fast this happened? I mean, it seems like it was only a few weeks ago that we heard that Bank of America was just hired to get some bids. Does it feel more real to you that this thing is coming through?
I expected it to go quick because I feel like the NFL ownership can't wait to get Dan Snyder out of here. So I think it's being pushed from a very high level to get this done. And the NFL is it just prints money. So anytime a team comes available, you're just going to have people lining up, and it doesn't matter what city it is.
Yeah.
There you're going to, and when you have when you have a top 10 market like DC. It is really just I know the fan base has deteriorated quite a bit, but it is just an untapped gold mine right now.
Yeah.
That this region is still ready to rally behind a team that can win. And there's a lot of fans that will come back and welcome them back. This is a huge opportunity for anybody with the means to do it. So I think that it doesn't surprise me at all. No, that it's going quickly, because this is it's not often that a big market team like this sells. This isn't Jacksonville or Denver or Carolina, where there's no small markets in the NFL, but anything outside the top 10 is relatively small as far as the NFL goes. This is a legit bread and butter market for any media type, any sports team would just love to. This region is just a hotbed. It's super populated. Everybody watches TV. So this is a massive boon for anybody that wants to buy it. And I personally, I'm glad Bailey dropped out. I'm not a huge fan of his. I don't know a lot about him, but I saw that picture and I'm like, that's a punchable guy. Don't sue me, Todd. But he just looked at it. He just gave off Dan Snyder vibes from the get-go. Yes. And then just reading about Chelsea, how much Chelsea fans hate him when he's a partner there.
He's not popular at all. Nope.
So Josh Harris owns the 76ers and the Devils, which are both seem to be moving in the right direction as franchises over the past few years. So it gives me a little bit of hope if he's the guy. And, of course, if Bezos swoops in, he's got deep, deep pockets. If nothing else, we'll have a baller stadium if Jeff Bezos takes over. And it's not even to mention the land that the Ashburn training facility, how valuable that land is. You could make back probably – a tenth of what you buy the team for just from selling that land. I mean, that is a massive, that's a real gold mine up there in the data center capital of the world. You've got that massive, fiber line going through there. Basically, the entire world goes through that on the internet, goes through Ashburn. So that's huge. Sorry, that's just the nerd side of me coming out. I apologize, but
that's a great point, and that's what a lot of the shows today were talking about, is that Ashburn facility, because you're right, that is the kind of the technology corridor right through there. There are so many data centers that are through that area, and a lot of these billionaires, right, they have companies that are business ventures that are all up and down that corridor there through Ashburn, and it is a valuable piece of property that could be sold or rented out however you want to do that. But to go back to your Jeff Bezos and the Broncos, I was listening to a reporter for Sportico, and they were talking about, hey, it was Craig Hoffman. He was talking about why they, there was no Bezos bid, and what could that mean? Could it mean he's not interested? Absolutely, it could mean that he's not interested at all. I mean, he's got so many other things going on. What does he need a football team for? But what he said was, when there is a player in a kind of sale that is that big and could literally outbid everybody, what happens is he'll scare off the other bids, because no one wants to put forth a bid if they know they're just going to be outbid. And what will happen is he'll be, that large player will have the only bid, and then he can actually kind of depress the price, right? He can say, well, no one else is going to bid on it, so I'm going to offer you $4 billion instead of the $5.5 billion that it's worth. The teams that are selling don't want that, right? The bank doesn't want that. The owner, Snyder wouldn't want that. So what they'll do is they'll try to keep them out of the bidding process until that last second. That way they have some of these other guys building up to the price, which is very similar to what you saw with the Denver Broncos, where the Walton family was not really involved early on in the process. And then really kind of the late stages, that last kind of cycle, all of a sudden they got involved because they had the money to just basically say, oh, the highest bid was $4 billion. Okay, here's 4.5, here's 4.65 billion. And I'll go ahead and, put that in my car, and I'll be out of here.
Yeah. And why outbid yourself, right? Like, why come in with a $7 billion bid when the highest bid is 6.3 billion? Like, you just spent $700 million that you didn't have to. So why not wait and see what all the bids are? And,
exactly.
Go Price is Right.
Exactly.
Or whatever, go $1 over the highest bid.
Yep.
It's the way I would do it.
Yep.
And I'm super cheap, so I assume Jeff Bezos is super cheap too.
Yeah. So not saying that he will do that, but that is probably a reason why you're not seeing, because if he didn't, it'd probably be a lot easier for him just to issue a statement via his attorney. We're not interested, and move on from there. But anyways, kind of the other thing is, with this ownership change here, it does affect some things with the football team. And that is kind of the budget, something we heard at the end of the season here in Rivera's end of season press conference. He said he had to meet with the Snyders to go over the budget for the year. Not something we usually hear from Rivera or any football coach. Do you think with the sale happening so soon here over these next couple of months that, Rivera is going to be authorized to make big trades or big signings? Hey, Daron Payne wants a big contract. We're going to give him $50 million guaranteed, like something like that. Do you think he has the ability to do that? Or, hey, maybe we really want Derek Carr. I'm going to trade a first-round pick and a third-round pick and give him $50 million guaranteed or $100 million guaranteed. Do you think Ron has any of that ability, or that's basically all off the table now?
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a weird thing, because if you commit to that, if you commit to those large contracts, I assume that factors into the sale price. So if you're negotiating a sale price and you don't have these contracts negotiated, how do you make that work? Do you just account for the salary cap and the sale price? Like, I have no idea how that would work, but I would assume kind of along the same lines of like why he's not going to fire all the coaches, because that affects the balance sheet for the sale of the team. So that is an interesting thing to keep an eye on. I would assume Ron's going to be able to operate the team as he would normally.
Yeah.
Just because you're trying to run a football team, and it's very difficult not to. We also know, again, Dan Snyder's very petty. He might tell him you can't spend anything till I'm gone. Free agency will be mostly over by the time the team is sold. Like, the first wave will be gone, and we'll see. Dan Snyder might call Jerry Jones and trade him his first-round draft pick for Dak Prescott's cleats or something. Like, who knows, right? Like, it's a weird situation. I don't know how they're going to handle it, but I would imagine they're going to try as best they can to operate it like they would in normal offseason.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they'll be able to make some moves. I don't know that they'll be able to do any big deals, because I got to imagine, let's say you sign Daron Payne to a 5-year deal, whatever that fully guaranteed amount is. I think that has to go into escrow right now. Like, you have to have that money available right now. So right. I don't know if Snyder wants to have that money tied up right now on there. So I don't look for them to break the bank. That's why, I'm very skeptical that they would trade for a veteran quarterback at this point. Not because I don't think they want to. I'm sure Ron wants to. I'm sure Ron would eat up the chance to get a Derek Carr. I just don't know if they, if this situation would allow for it on there. With that, anything else with the ownership potential change that you're kind of thinking about? Like, who's your guy? Who do you want to see as this potential next owner out of kind of the handful that we've heard?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, that Bailey guy, didn't like him. Could have been a great owner. Who knows? Just looked at the picture and said, I don't like that guy. No, I mean, I'm intrigued with Josh Harris personally, just like I said before, because he's got 2 franchises that he owns in other leagues that are both headed in the right direction. They're not, the Sixers are always in that championship conversation lately. And I don't really follow hockey, but I know the Devils are doing well in the standings, and they tend to usually be a playoff team. So I'm okay with that, because it seems like he might know how to run a sports franchise, which is really all I can ask for after the past 23 years. I don't want somebody to just write blank checks and bring in everybody and, make it a fantasy team. We've been there, done that. I just want somebody who, is smart enough to know that he needs to put the right people in place to run the team, and then give them what they need to do their jobs. That's the main thing. Like, don't handicap the guys you put in place to do their job and then blame them when you fail. So if he's willing to do that, which it appears from, his other sports teams that he's willing to do, I'm completely okay with him.
Yeah, I agree. I think the best thing for any of these owners, whoever it may be, I don't necessarily have a particular person, is come in and really make sure you go through the process of finding somebody qualified, somebody who understands the need to build a roster correctly, to have a good, financial situation, to make sure that they understand that finding a franchise quarterback is important, and then have them go out and hire the coaches, make these decisions, and stay out of their way. Once you identify who these people are, stay out of their way. Let them work. They're probably going to make mistakes, right? All head coaches, front offices, they do. That's how it works. But let them work, right? They're going to make mistakes, and they're also going to hit on players, and they're going to have successes, and they're going to win. But you got to give them the tools to do it, and you got to stay out of their way. So as long as whoever it is does that, I'm going to be very happy. And I think all Commanders fans will be happy, because we've seen how it works the other way, where they're constantly involved in making draft picks from their yacht, and it doesn't work out. So hopefully we're almost past that point.
Yeah, my strategy. I mean, my number one wish, or number one on my wish list for an owner, is just somebody who understands that the job of a leader is to empower the people below them to do their jobs, and then hold them accountable for the jobs that they do. That's really management 101. And if you can do that and just not meddle and just stay out, like you said, stay out of their way, let them do their jobs. And if they fail, they get replaced. But if, you give a guy 3 years, and after 3 years, you see positive results, you keep doing what you're doing. If you don't see the results, you hold them accountable and let them go and move on. That's really all I want to see from an owner. So I think we're both on the same page with that, regardless of who it is. Just, let the people below you that you put in place do their jobs.
Yeah, I agree. And one last thing on the ownership front. A new owner comes in, like I said, the JP Finley reporting that the sale is close. It'll be done sooner rather than later. So the new ownership comes in. They're in. What do they do with Ron Rivera? Do they say, and I get, it may be late in the cycle, keep him for 2023. Do they keep Ron after that? Do they say, what, we'll just, Ron, you seem like a nice guy. We'll keep you for the next, 3-4 years. Or they say, I don't really, I want my own guys. I don't want any ties to the previous regime or owner. And you haven't necessarily won, and you don't have a franchise quarterback that you've developed. So, we thank you for your services, and we'll see you later. Like, what do they do with Ron?
I think it's all about 2023. It's just, it's way too late to get through the hiring cycle. I mean, because you've got to, think about it, everybody's already got their coaching staff in place. You have to get permission from other teams to interview assistants. You have to, you have to comply with the Rooney Rule. There's so much that goes into it. And if you're starting that in March, there's no way you're going to get that done. So I think, you roll with what's in place for the upcoming year. They've already done all the work for the draft. They're already, everything, the whole offseason plan is in place, and to change it would just be lunacy, because you're just not going to, it's not going to work. So I think you just roll with it, and the results of 2023 will dictate how they handle 2024 and beyond. If Ron Rivera somehow goes, 12-5, makes the playoffs, goes deep into the playoffs, there's no way you get rid of him. And you continue to, let him do his job. If, as I suspect, this team manages to get to 7-10 once again and, misses the playoffs, I think it's time for Ron to move on. But we shall see what happens. And it's hard to play Swami when we don't even know who the new owner is going to be. Yeah. But I can't imagine that. I just think that it's all about 2023, whatever the results are, and that's going to factor into it. I think anything below a playoff appearance, Ron is gone. Even if they go 10-7 and miss the playoffs, I don't think he comes back. I think he has to make the playoffs at minimum, and then put up a respectable performance at least. But at minimum, he's got to make the playoffs, and then you move from there. Very similar to like when Dan Snyder took over the team in '99. He basically didn't have time to replace North Turner, left him in place, made the playoffs, kept him around for another year, completely undermined him the whole way, and then fired him. Hopefully the new owner won't do that. Hopefully the new owner will just let them do their jobs. But we kind of have a blueprint as to what that looks like already. The last when the Panthers were sold, they kept Ron for a year.
Yeah.
And I think they made the playoffs. I can't remember. It's been so long. 2017.
No. Ron's last winning season was 2017.
17.
That was an 11-5 year with a healthy Cam Newton. After that, he's been below 500, or this past year at 500.
But he was okay. So 2018 was his first year under Tepper.
Correct. And then
he got fired in 2019 after 2 losing seasons, or most of the way through his second losing season. Gotcha. Yeah. So that's kind of what I expect it to look like. Although I wouldn't expect the new owner to be patient with Ron anymore, because we're in year 4 of Ron's tenure and really nothing to show for it.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is the year that he'll be judged by, right? Like, this is year 4 here in DC, but this is year 13 for Ron. Ron has 12 years of head coaching experience, and he's heading into year 13. And his last winning season was in 2017, that 11-5 year with Cam Newton. That's just not good enough. And I like Ron. I was so happy when we signed him. I was like, this is the dude. This is the guy who's going to bring us back. And to Ron's credit, I don't think there's anybody who could have managed the off-field stuff better. I think some of these other coaches in the league, if they were here, it would have crushed them. The scandals, having to ask the questions with the media, the stress of it, I think would have just crushed them. Ron has done an amazing job of handling that stuff. The football stuff, not so much. He just hasn't given the attention to detail. The winning, some of the sloppiness that we've seen, personnel decisions, I just don't think, are his strong suit anymore. But he handled all that other stuff great. But yeah, you're right. 2023 will decide. And for me, he's going to have to do a little bit more than just 9 or 10 wins. This is year 4. You had a rookie coach in Brian Daboll come in here and tap dance all over you in 2 games, and he's still in the playoffs as we speak, a rookie head coach. So I would need 12 wins. I would need a playoff win, and I would need to see some development from a young quarterback, because if I'm going to keep you around, I want to know that you can develop a franchise quarterback, a young quarterback, and that, hey, you can do more than just get a 9-8 season. I want to see that you can actually win more games and that it's not a fluke. So he's got a big year ahead of him. But yeah, he'll absolutely be here for the 2023 season, and we'll see what happens from there on. What else do you want to talk about? Anything that you missed? What were your thoughts on Sam Howell and his last game there? I don't think we got to hear you.
Yeah, I was very happy with what I saw. Like, I was expecting a less, I was expecting, I think I put it, I don't know if I put it on Twitter in the chat, but I was expecting like 50% completion, a couple of interceptions, probably a rushing touchdown. So he exceeded my expectations. Dallas completely laid an egg. I have no idea what was going on that side of the ball. It was terrible. So they helped him out quite a bit. But he navigated that game really well through 2 really nice deep balls. One Jahan didn't come up with, the other one Terry did. Put it right on their hands both times, and was, calm under pressure. Used his legs like I thought he would. So I was impressed with how I look forward to it. Like I said, I think, 2023, there's not a lot to look forward to, and I would much rather go through it watching a young quarterback than watching some retread like Ryan Tannehill try to come through here and end up winning 7 games like they likely would with Howell anyway. So I'm excited to hopefully, see what Howell can do moving forward. I've liked him since he was in college. We talked to, his coaches. I mocked him to the team several times in the second round because I'm an idiot. But yeah, it worked out great. And now we're hearing whispers from the from the brass that they would have taken him way higher if they hadn't landed Carson Wentz or some nonsense. I don't know what to believe coming out of there, though. We're in rumor season, so who knows? But I'm glad he's here. I like him, and I can't wait to see him. I can't wait to see what next year has in store for him. I think he will develop. I think unlike Ellie. We know how Ellie feels about him. He hates his guts.
Yes,
hates him. Oh, if you could read our text, Ellie hates Sam Howell, but and he's not here to defend himself, so it's even better. I think he does have the potential to be an NFL starter.
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing him realize that potential.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It was a solid performance. There were things there that you can say, you know what, I'd like to see more of this. I want to see this develop. I want to see more playing time for him. So I'm excited to see where it goes, because the whole 2023 season is kind of an evaluation period for Ron and his staff here. So let's see it. I don't want to see a veteran QB, just like you said, struggle to get 7 wins, 8 wins, and we have to pay him $30 million, and we gave up a draft pick for him as well too. Not interested in that at all. And I will say something, Eric, that you mentioned. Yep, we did interview his offensive coordinator. In fact, we interviewed his offensive coordinator February of last year. We were the first ones
we took him. Yeah,
before the draft. February of 2021. It's on our website, the interview. It's on our YouTube channel. Go check it out. We were the first ones in the country to talk to Coach Phil Longo, who's actually now at Wisconsin. That's Big Ten football. We wish Coach Longo well.
Dare I say it? He's a friend of the show because he replies to texts.
He does. He does reply to our texts. So yes,
call Coach Longo a friend of the show. Coach Longo, if you're watching, we appreciate you, man.
We do appreciate Coach Longo, and we wish him well, him and Coach Fickle up in Big Ten country there as well. So lots of stuff happening here with the team. So make sure you are subscribed to the audio podcast, whichever venue you listen through, Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, whichever one it is. Please subscribe. If you can, leave us a 5-star review. It takes just a second. It helps the podcast grow. It helps us reach out to other Commanders fans that are out there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And hit the notification buttons. That way, when we put out a video like this or some of our 5 things videos, which are coming back here shortly, now that we are in the thick of the off season and things are happening, you'll be the first to get all of that content. Check out our website, commanders247.com. Ellie just put a awesome article about 5 moves that the Commanders must make this offseason. It's a great, quick read. Go check that out. Eric, any final thoughts, last words?
Yeah, YouTube, we are creeping up on 1,000 subscribers. That would be amazing if we could get there. So please tell your friends to tell their friends to check us out. It takes a second to like and subscribe. And man, set up a couple of fake accounts with some Bobo email addresses. I won't tell anybody. It's not like I've done it 11 times. No.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're very close to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. You guys know when we get 1,000 subscribers, there's some additional features that we can get access to, bring you some more content. So please try that. Tell a friend, have them subscribe, and check out DraftKings Sportsbook. Use our code CDP11. And we will see you next week with some more info, some more up-to-date news during this Commanders off season. Peace.